Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to help you with 5.3.3. This is the last part 3, in this session of seeing sounds. So right now we're going to open Krita. So I'm just going to drag my Krita over to here. So my phone creates these photos that have a lot of heaviness to them. They're pretty large. They're pretty large documents. So the first thing that I need to do is resize my image. So I'm going to drag my image that I took yesterday, the photo that I took for my cover art, and I'm going to plop it in right here. So this is the image that I took. This is a bush that's in my backyard. It was pretty rainy yesterday, so the sky was kind of gray. So I think that this kind of looks a little bit like sadness. So all I have to do is kind of put some hopefulness into it, and then I think it'll match the tone and mood of my song. So the first thing I'm going to do after I open up the artwork in here is I'm going to change the size. So I'm going to go to image, and then once I'm in image, I'm going to scale image to new size. So that's image and then scale image to new size. So I think probably a lot of students are probably using images that they took with their iPhones, so that your image is probably going to be a little bit too large to fit in the parameters of what EDO is asking you to do. So here I am going to set my width. The width of the project, the width in that state in the project is 1080. So the height will automatically adjust itself, and I'm going to set the resolution to 300. So, whoops, that popped back up. So I'm going to change that again, 1080. So I have 1080 as my width. My height is larger, so I can crop that once I get it in. I'm going to actually, I'm going to crop that right now. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so that's all done. I'm going to hit OK. Now I basically really like this center part of my image here. So I am going to, let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm gonna crop it so it's 1080 by 1080. That's the size that you need for your to hand into EDIO. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my crop tool, and I'm going to make it as close to a square as possible, because it's going to be 1080 by 1080. Let me move this up because I kind of like the top part a lot. So this is paying attention to the rule of thirds, because most of the action is happening along this area this way, and this area going this way. So if I look over here in my crop dimensions, I want it to be 1080 by 1080. So I'm going to change this one here that's not at 1080 to 1080. There, now I have 1080 by 1080, and I know the resolution is 300. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to enter, and it should crop it. Oh, let me do that one more time. So I need it to be 1080 by 1080. There we go. Oh, sorry about that. Maybe it's a good thing that I'm doing this more than once so you can see how it's done. Then there's a little crop button right here. You want to click on the crop button, and there, now it's ready to go. So now I'm going to save this as my last name. And I'm going to save it as the unit number 53.3. And I'm saving it in my digital art folder that I have on my desktop. And then I have a folder for unit 5. So I'm going to save it there so that I know where it is. All right, now I'm going to add some elements to it. I know that I'm going to put my title at the top. So I'm going to open up a vector layer. So if you click on, let me do that again. If you click on this little tiny arrowhead that's next to the plus sign, if you click on that, you get a menu that pops up. You need a vector layer in order to add text. That is the text type of layer that you need. So click on vector layer and then come and grab your text tool right here, the big T in your toolbox. And you're going to just drag open a box of any size. It doesn't matter. When you do that, you'll get this floating palette that pops up. So I'm going to type here the name of my song. I'm going to type Melancholy Hill. And then I'm going to highlight it. And then I'm going to drop this menu down, and you can scroll through all of the fonts that we have that you can use. You're going to want to find a font that fits kind of the feeling of your song, right? So I actually chose to work with MV Boli, and I'm going to make it like a magenta kind of color. I want something kind of light and pink. So I think I'm going to choose this color here, rose pink, and I'm going to make my font about 120. You have to hit enter on your keyboard. Now you'll see that it changes here in the floating palette, but not on the actual artwork. But if you click the word save, then it shows up on your artwork. So I can see that that's way too big. So I'm going to, I want to make my letters closer together. See how much space is between the E and the L. So I can do that right here by clicking on this button. I want the letters, this is for the letter spacing. I want the letter spacing tighter. So I'm going to click on this and it'll make the letters kind of come together. You see how that space between the letters is coming together? I kind of really like that. So I'm going to save it and take a look. Actually, it looks like it's too much. So let me go to 10, minus 10. If you have, if it's plus 10, it'll spread them out more. If it's minus 10, then it will bring them closer together. And then I'm going to change the font size here to just 75. Let me see how that looks. I hit save and I can see it kind of work out. It still looks like it's a little too big. So you can play around. You can play around with that and see what font size you need it to be. Remember to always hit the enter button afterwards. Although it won't, if you don't hit the enter button, then it'll go back to your previous. I'm going to take this off here and see how that looks. Save. So I do still want the letters a little bit closer together. So I'm going to make it at 5 here. Oops, minus 5. Minus 5. Enter. Let me see what that looks like. All right, maybe I think I got the wrong letter there. Change that. So every time you hit save, it will update it on your artwork so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to get rid of this altogether. Enter. Whoops. And hit save. So I think maybe I'll do -2. You have to play around with it to get it right if you're playing with this. All right, I think that looks great. Now I have to close it and then I can use this move tool here in the toolbox to put it exactly where I want it. All right. So I think that I want it to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to click on the text tool again, and then click on this to bring up the palette menu again so I can reduce it in size. I'm going to try 36. and I hit enter and then click the save button and it updates it. So I kind of like that. So I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to readjust it. I think I want it down a little bit lower. Now my letters don't show up that great because they're so light. So I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow behind them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another layer and I'm going to make it so that that layer is between the background and the picture. I'm going to lock the background. Actually, what I really like to do is I like to rename my layers. So I just double click on the layer level and I'm just going to type in text. That way I know this one's going to be the gradient layer, just so I know what's on each layer and I don't get confused. So there's the gradient layer. I'm clicked on the gradient layer. I'm going to make sure all my other layers are locked. And then I'm going to go up here. I'm going to make black be my foreground color. I'm going to click on the gradient tool right here in the toolbox. And then I'm just going to drag down a little bit and it'll put a little bit of tone on there. Now that's not what I want it because I have it on the radial. And I don't want it on radial because that makes the gradient kind of like a circle. I want it to be linear because I want it to come straight down almost like a curtain. So all right, that's good, but I think I want it to come down a little bit further. So I'm gonna do it one more time. So I just hit Control Z to go backwards. All right, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I think I will stay with that. So I'm gonna lock my gradient layer. I'm gonna add some bubbles to this image. So I'm going to add another paint layer and I'm gonna call this bubbles because I'm gonna put bubbles on this layer. So I'm only gonna make one bubble. I'm gonna make it right here, and then I'll copy and paste that bubble and resize them to make other bubbles. So I'm gonna grab my marquee tool and I'm going to drag it open. I want them to be just a little bit smaller than the berries that are in the artwork. If I hit the shift button, then it'll scale as a perfect circle. If I don't hold the shift button down, it'll just be an oval without any control. All right, now I'm going to fill this with a kind of pinkish yellow color. So to get the pure hue, I can drag this circle down to the lower right corner of the triangle and then move this up a little bit to like a pinkish orange color. I don't want it to be that bright, so I can pull it over towards white and tint that color down a little bit. So I'm going to use that color. I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to fill it by clicking on my paint bucket and clicking right in the center there, like that. All right, now I want it to be a little bit translucent. So I'm going to take this opacity slider here that's on top of my layers palette. And I'm going to scoot it over so that it becomes a little bit transparent. There we go. All right, good. Now I'm just going to put a little highlight glow on this. But before I do that, I'm going to lock this layer and then I'm going to make another layer right underneath it. And I'm going to put a stroke on it. So I'm going to go to Edit, Stroke Selection, and I'm going to do black and I'm going to see what 3 looks like. And I think maybe I will actually try like a dark purple color. Yep, that looks good. I'm going to say okay and then okay. So it puts a little bit of a stroke on it. So that's on the layer underneath. So I'm going to name this bubble outline. All right, and I'm going to deselect it. You can deselect it by going up to select and then hitting deselect. It's not highlighted right now because I don't have anything to deselect. All right, now I'm just gonna, oops, I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight on this. So I'm going to make another layer and I'm going to put it on top of my bubbles and I'm going to call this bubble highlight. All right, now I'm going to grab the marquee tool again, and I'm just going to draw a circle where I would want the highlight of my bubble to be. And I'm going to choose white, right? And then I'm going to fill it. So I can go image, oh, I'm sorry, view, oh, edit, fill with the foreground color. And so I don't want it to be that bright. So again, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit of it. So I like that. That's pretty good. I'm going to deselect it and let me look at this full size. Whoops, at 100%. We could just type in 100% here. And I'm going to use this little hand tool to pull it down. So I kind of like that. I think it's going to give it some hopefulness to it. Uh, I'll make some that are bigger and some are smaller, but I want the shadow, the highlight, and the pink color of the bubble to all be on the same layer. So what I'm going to do is I have my highlight on this top bubble layer, then I have the bubble color, and then I have the bubble outline. All I have to do is right click on the layer and say merge with the layer below. And if I do that again, merge with the layer below. Now all of my bubbles will be on the same. And why didn't it work? Let me try that. Oh, because it's locked. I'm sorry, that's why. All right, so merge with the layer below and then right click, merge with the layer below. So now every aspect of the bubble is on the same layer. Now I can duplicate that layer. And now I have two. So I can grab my move tool and I can move this one around to another area like this. Let me see, maybe I'll put it here, right? And now I'm going to lock the layer I'm not using. I can make that one bigger so that all the bubbles aren't the same size. So I use this scale tool here and I'm going to grab a corner and I'm just going to pull it until it's a little bit bigger like that. And then I can just click on another tool. Now I can go back to my original bubble and I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to duplicate that layer. Um, let me see, I got to get my move tool. I think that I need to unlock it. So let me move that one. I think I'll move it over here. And then I'm going to scale this one too. All right, so hopefully that gives you some idea of what you can do to add some elements. You can also use the drawing tool and create some drawing elements on here or whatever. But for me, I think I might add some more bubbles, but I think that's enough for now. So I'm going to go file, save, and it's going to save my file as a Krita file. So I'm just going to say, okay, it'll just save it where it was originally from. But now I'm also going to do save it as a JPEG. So I'm going to go file, save as, and it's already named my last name and the unit number and JPEG image. So I'm just going to save that in the same place, digital art unit 5, save. All right, okay. All right, so there I have it. I'm all done, and now I can go back. I can go back to Edio. We've kind of done everything on page 7 here. Just remember that this is a digital art class. So your cover art needs to be drawn using a computer. Take your time planning and or sketching your cover art based on your notes from day one. Base your cover art on the mood tone of your song. Remember to use colors that echo the song's mood and vibe. Remember to include a title using the typography tool and choose a text that matches the personality emotion of your song. Also, don't forget to save your created document as a JPEG to be able to upload it into the Dropbox. And review your assignment. Check your digital artwork one last time to make sure you have met all of the following to earn the maximum amount of points, which is 15 points. You used an original photo. You added design elements to tell the audience more about the song visually. You use colors that match the song's mood. You include the song's title or artist or both using font that captures the song's feel, and the cover art shows a level of craftsmanship indicating effort and time spent in planning and creating. All right, great. Here on page 8, you can submit your cover art by clicking here and then driving Edio to the folder where you saved your JPEG file. All right, great. You are all done 5.3.3. Congratulations and good luck.